Hello! Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. Since I've mostly finished my downstairs, I'm now moving upwards. So the next thing on my home reno list is a little bit of a refresh for our upstairs hallway. It's very small and narrow, and the main issues with it are one, the color. My home was painted all in one neutral, very cool toned off-white that almost leans kind of like a blue-gray, and it just doesn't match anything that I own at all. So it's also very dark because all that's up there is a one bulb builder grade boob light. So it's not even centered on the ceiling, so it's just not ideal. And then also I just haven't really bothered putting anything up because I've been meaning to repaint it, so it's really empty and it just kind of feels like this strange liminal space. So the vibes that I'm going for are kind of like moody light academia vibes. I want something that packs a lot of aesthetic punch, but I don't want to paint the walls anything crazy because since it is a hallway, there's not really a good stopping point. It flows into other rooms that I've already painted. So the next logical place to paint is the ceiling. I have always adored those Baroque painted ceilings, especially the ones that are painted to look like the sky. It gives me like main hall at Hogwarts vibes, and I also just really like celestial things like moons and stars. So I decided to paint a night sky on my ceiling along with constellations. So first I had to pick out a good paint color. Because the walls are going to be a creamy white, but we are keeping the gray carpet upstairs, we decided to find a dusky, stormy blue that wouldn't be too dark and wouldn't clash with either the walls or the carpet. We ended up going with Debonair by Sherwin-Williams. First, I needed to cut in around the ceiling and the current light fixture with an angled brush, and then my assistant helped me set up the drop cloths so I could start rolling on the base coat. So now that I have finished the base coat, it's time to start sponging on the clouds. So literally all I've done, you can see that I've already been testing a little bit with these, but literally all I did was take a car wash sponge and I cut it in half. And then I sat here and I just ripped out chunks of the sponge until it had this kind of abstract natural pattern to it, so that it wasn't just a shape of the sponge. I mixed the base paint with some craft acrylics in my stash to create a darker tone and a lighter tone, and added some pearlescent paint in too just for fun. To create the illusion of depth, I'm sponging on the darker color first, focusing on doing dense, fluffy shapes and constantly spinning my sponge so that it won't be a repeating pattern. My method with the light tone is a little different. For this half of the sponge, I ripped a much more pronounced shape into it, so that it's almost a stamp of a swirl shape. I'm packing a ton of paint on with each dip and doing firm single stamps of the shape over the dark tones. I think this method turned out really effective, although it was actually quite the workout and made me very sweaty. I tried to get my assistant to help out with the painting, but unfortunately at that point he unionized and went on strike. Finally, it's time to add the constellations. I do not have that much faith in my drawing skills, so I opted to go with stencils. When you look up constellation stencils on Amazon, you mostly just find the zodiac constellations, so I actually leaned into that and got a second stencil showing the symbol of each zodiac's origin myth. I loosely arranged the constellations in their real-world order, but I did have to stick Aquarius way down the hall to spread them out enough, so I'm sorry, Aquarius. I plan on eventually fully stenciling my bathroom, so this was a nice low-stakes arena, so to speak, to kind of play trial and error with them. Originally I tried using a small foam roller, but no matter what I did, it always bled around the edges really badly. So the method that worked best for me is actually taping the stencil to the ceiling, and then I'm using an old fluffy blush brush to stipple paint into the stencil. Once I did the initial coat, I'm going in with a fine point brush and painstakingly painting a second coat of gold onto each stencil, as well as using my original blue to clean up the edges. So one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of the video is how dark this hallway is. We do actually have a light picked out, and we have ordered it, but it hasn't arrived yet. So for the interim, I'm actually just going to use gilding wax on our current blue light. I'm literally just going to rub it on all of the oil rubbed bronze areas, and it's not going to look great. I know it's essentially just putting lipstick on a pig, but both the previous owner and myself have already gotten paint on this light, and they literally retail for $18 at Lowe's. So I am not too heartbroken about it. I don't think I was going to be selling it for any big bucks. So yeah, just kind of a in-between so that I can get some final shots before we actually receive the light and I can install it. And after final touch-ups were done, we had our very own night sky, perfect for stargazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there is more in store for this hallway. I am planning on putting up crown molding and some more decorative accents. I will also be replacing that light fixture once it actually arrives. And then I will finally be putting up a very moody gallery wall, so stick around for the final reveal of it. I'm sorry I couldn't put it all in one video, but the ceiling did take me quite a while, and I also just thought it kind of deserved its own moment in the spotlight, so to speak. So yeah, please let me know in the comments if you would do this to your own ceiling, and have a wonderful day.